I describe it and deliver it. I write it because I'm living it. Highly independent. Why these brothers still illiterate? I crouch low to the flow like crocodile bellies. I'm looking for more than a show I can rock with 4 felonies. See, the preacher told me to sit back and play the trumpet, but my ears couldn't hear because the dub sevens was thumping. And now you know your boy's thoroughly rushed, so I'm living 9 lives because 8 wasn't enough.
Yes, possibly the greatest beginning to any podcast ever. That was the very beginning of this podcast.
Let's get it started.
Well, let's get it started. Let's get it
cracking.
started. Yeah, man. How you doing? It's been a little while.
I'm good. I'm trying to stay away from getting stressed out. Yeah.
That's the killer.
Man, you know, the world I'm learning, it'll grab you and start and shaking you and pulling you and doing all that kind of stuff. And maintaining balance is something that's new to me. You know, I never had to maintain balance before. It was either all brakes, meaning, you know, in a small space, or all gas on my way to the small space, you know? And so, yeah, I'm learning. It's a lot, you know? Tendency to kind of want to do everything.
I think a lot of people have that tendency.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a concept that I've been thinking about a lot around efficiency and how often people think that they can sort of hack their way down to an efficient life, but there's an infinite amount of things coming in and coming at you always, and things that are really worth doing, especially for someone like yourself. You have a lot of passion, a lot of curiosity. So the thing that I've been trying to do, which is helpful, is just maintain staying on a certain task for a certain amount of time and then moving to the next one, and just knowing that it's never going to get done.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a defeat, but it's a very sweet defeat.
Yeah, I think, we feel like we're just going to reach that place one day, you know, where things are just done and it's good. And that's just, I don't think that place really exists, you know? And you're right. I want to get involved in everything. I want to, hey, Chris, can you do this? Chris, can you do that? Yeah. And then next thing I know, I scheduled 2 meetings at the same time, you know, things like that. And something that you brought up just now made me think of a word that I've been meditating on recently, and it's discipline, you know, self-discipline. And I'm working on that.
Yeah. What do you do to, I think, just for people who don't know who you are, can you give a little backstory on your story? I've heard it before, but a lot of people haven't, and I think it would provide some context.
Yeah, sure. Who am I? I'm just a kid from San Diego that loves what he does and loves his community and loves people. That's it. That's me in a nutshell. My story is, grew up with a good family, made bad choices, got involved in all kinds of bad things, ended up in a bunch of bad places, and a lot of different times for a long time, and then ended up in a really bad place, which was the hole. So it's prison inside a prison, right? And got down on my knees and prayed for something different. Came to a place of desperation, which brought me to a place of surrender. Prayed for something different, and then actually had the eyes of my soul open enough that I could receive and hear, and was given a vision of how to make my community a better place, and also given the strength to walk with it, to take the steps to do that, right, in a real way. When nothing that I had ever done in life prior to that was real or lasting. And I took the steps. 14 years total in prison, countless arrests and jail time in county jail, juvenile hall, things like that. When I got out of prison for the last time, I followed that vision. I walked. I learned how to grow plants. I went to school, learned how to grow plants, and started an organization called Garden 31 Community Initiative, which was the vision that was given to me, which is an organization that works on building community and empowering people by teaching them to be at one with the environment and natural processes and how to grow their own food. So now I work for and run that organization, and we're doing some really amazing things in our community and actually seeing the impact. We're seeing kids and men and women that have been formerly incarcerated be inspired and change their lives and want to learn about plants. And I'll just tell you, like, one of the most amazing benefits is seeing the inspiration in these kids. It's like they're at school. We come a couple times a week and do garden with them. And part of our garden, one of the things that I learned about kids and gardening is they love being out there, but you can't teach a kid how to grow a plant and all of the challenges that they're dealing with go away. Especially some of the at-risk or disadvantaged youth that we work with. They're dealing with real challenges that are tangible and real. And so we run what's called a character mastery program at the same time as our garden, and we go through 12 different character attributes with them. It was developed by a friend of mine, Michael Askia-Toure, and so we talked to him about compassion, patience, temperance, humility, things like that, and we identify what it looks like, and they learn, if that quality is attractive to them and how they can employ that in their lives, and to see them start using those things in their lives and actually talk about them like as though they know what they are now, and coming back and talking about how their relationships have changed with their parents or their siblings or even their boyfriends or girlfriends. It's really amazing. And we have some teachers that we work with, and they're good teachers, and they have good hearts, and they love these kids, but they're also part of the educational system. So I think that sometimes they don't see where they're part of that problem because they're so inundated with this educational system that we have that's been maintaining the status quo generationally. And they teach like English and history, and one of them was a history teacher, and I asked her, how many of your students are historians that you've had over the years? And not one, but the garden, we have students that graduate and they come back to the garden. After they've graduated, they get jobs working at other places, and they tell their jobs, I can't work Friday because I have to be at the garden. And they come back, and that's the kind of inspiration that I want to see. I want that video game inspiration.
Yeah, I had a chance to come out one day when you were doing one of the final class celebrations. You and a bunch of these kids and a larger team had planted a garden, and you had done that painting project with the kids where they were painting each one of those character traits. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so during one of our character mastery lessons, it was integrity, I believe, we were talking, and I shared with them how my OGs, my elders, would always hit me. They wanted to keep me sharp and make sure that I was conscious of what I was doing when I was walking throughout about my day. And so they would hit me with like, Chris, what's your square? Meaning like, what's your foundation today? What are you standing on? And what are the four sides? Square has four sides. What are the four borders that your boundaries that you operate within, and that you won't allow people to cross.
Was there one guy in prison who taught you that?
There were multiple. Every different prison, I always was blessed with having some older guys that were there. I can say Rich Morellis, Ted Gray. Man, I could name hundreds.
Right, but the idea of the square is this is what I'm gonna be today, and these are my boundaries that I'm not gonna cross.
Yeah, this is what I operate on, and so what are your 4 boundaries? And so when they'd say that to me, I had to respond to it, and I'd have to respond quickly, because I'm supposed to be cognizant and present and knowing who I am and what I'm walking and doing each day. And so they hit me like, I'd be on the basketball court playing, and they'd be on the side of the basketball. They'd be like, yell out like, "Hey, Chris, what's your square?" I'd be like, and I stopped playing, I'd be like, today my square is humility, strength, love, and patience, and that means that's who I am. That's what I'm founded in today. And I shared that with the kids, and they're like, "Oh, we want to paint squares, we want to paint squares."
Oh, really? So that was their idea?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So they said they wanted to paint their squares. So I went and got them some pavers, and it just, ideas build as we build together, right? Like I didn't have that idea to paint squares. So they gave me that idea, and I went and got the squares, and then we started thinking about it like, well, what are we going to do with these squares? They're going to paint their character attributes on them. And so they painted not only their character attributes, but they painted things that they loved on them, or things that they saw as uplifting for them. Butterflies, flowers, whatever it was. They all had they put their individuality on these pavers.
Yeah, and these are kids who are how old?
They're high school kids. So
high
they're
school kids.
15, 16, 17.
And what was the school called that I visited, and what was it specifically?
It was a continuation school, Alta Vista High School. So a lot of these kids were there. I'm not going to say that they got in trouble at other schools, but they had issues with the structure of other schools. And remember, we were just coming out of COVID too. So a lot of them just couldn't do that online learning. They just couldn't stay focused or have attention. So they ended up at this continuation school. Some of them did get in trouble at other schools. But this continuation school had a really great staff. They're really about the kids. And they heard about our program. They invited us in because they wanted to do more community learning with these kids. They wanted to bring the community in because the kids aren't, if they're having challenges, those challenges stem from somewhere, right? So the parents may be having some challenges. So
Sure.
This is a community issue. It's not just an educational issue. Yeah. So
I like the idea of meditating on words. I just did a podcast with a poet named Ross Gay. Did I tell you about this guy?
Delight.
Dude. The book.
I've been listening.
The Book of Delights.
Yeah.
The Book of Delights. So every day for a year, this guy wrote a short essay about a delight, and it's just delightful. But he talks about, as a practice to write poetry, he will meditate on a word and think of all the questions that he can ask around that word and all the potentialities of that word. And he'll look up the definition of that word, but then he'll also create his own definitions of that word and ways that it has impacted his own life. And, in a world where we're just churning out so many text messages and emails and talking so much, like the idea of just thinking about a single word, like humility, for a long period of time is it's damn cool.
That's kind of what we do in the character mastery program. We start with the etymology of the word, and then we throw it out to the kids. It's a round table. It's not us standing there and throwing information.
It's not being prescriptive. Yeah. What does it mean to you?
Yeah. Like, what do you think of when you think of the word humility? What do you think? Last week we did surrender. That's always a really good one. I mean, we had kids coming back last year. We did surrender, and the following week we had 2 girls come back, and one said, because I learned that surrender was not just a bad thing, but that it could be a powerful thing in my life. I surrendered my toxic relationship this weekend.
Damn.
This is a 17-year-old girl said that, and a 15-year-old girl said, I sold my body 2 weeks ago, and I surrendered doing that after I learned about surrender last week. Like, these are the kinds of things, the amazing things that we're hearing in these relationships and these connections that we're building. So that what Ross was talking about reminds me a lot of what we do with the character mastery. We throw the word out there, we get them involved, we want them to tell us about it. Well, do you know anybody that has integrity? What does it look like to you? Is that an attractive quality? Or, and we get them to start, because all we want to do ultimately is teach them to use their mind, and then they'll be fine. Don't expect that somebody else is going to be the authoritative figure over your life. And that's one of the issues that I have with working in the schools, because it's very much that, right? And my thing is, coming from my background, and I was very insecure coming out of in high school and coming out of high school, in my decision making. I didn't have confidence that I could make good decisions, or that I had any power in my life. And I think a lot of that stemmed from always having an authoritative figure, making decisions for me. It's like, I don't, the kids come to me, hey, Chris, can I go to the bathroom? And I'm like, don't ask me that. Like, do what you do. Can I go see my friend in this class? Do what you do. Like, you're going to find out that your choices are going to have consequences, whether they be good or bad. They're going to have there's going to be a reaction, and you're going to learn better that way. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to teach the kids that are here, and build a connection with them, and the ones that aren't.
Yeah, you mentioned in a previous podcast, something that really stuck with me which was when you were in prison, you didn't feel like you had a lot of skills or a lot of competencies. So learning gardening, getting good at something, was sort of a first rung on the ladder to competence, which you mentioned has allowed you to have confidence to put yourself back through school, to start this program. And I just think that's an important point, that sometimes these little small changes and little small skills that we gain can have a pretty darn big impact if you just run it through the horizon of time.
Yeah, I think that confidence is it's huge. When you're confident that and is it confidence, or is it faith, or whatever it is, that feeling. I feel like we all have a spot inside of us. Like, it's a small spot, but it's the most powerful spot in our being. And I feel like if we can touch that spot knows that we can do anything that we need to do. It's confident, it has faith, it's all that. But when you can't feel that spot, reach it, or touch it, I think it's really easy for us to get thrown off track. It's really easy for us to be influenced and pulled in different directions. So I think one of the main things for us in working with people that are disadvantaged or that are seeking to transform their lives is to give them that confidence in themselves. Because we know we're human beings, right? We know right from wrong. Like, we know it's wrong to go and hurt another human being purposefully, right? But when we don't have that base foundation, it's easy for us to do things that maybe we know are not the right things to do.
Yeah, man, and doing things that are hard. It's like that saying, the hardest thing you've ever done is the hardest thing you've ever done, right? But then the second you've done something that was difficult, something that you didn't know that you could do and make it through the other side, something that really scared you, then all of a sudden it resizes every other challenge you're up against. So I think that the idea of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger it's a powerful idea to walk around with, and I think a good one to reinforce.
I think not just, I mean, if you look at it like this too, like that's absolutely right. Whatever doesn't kill you make you stronger. But also whatever doesn't kill you adds bricks to your foundation. Like it builds, we build our life off of that. If you, just like you were just talking about, if we surpass a challenge, if we show courage and bravery to surpass a challenge, then we're on the next, we just gone up a level. It's like a video game. You know what I'm saying? Like we just went, okay, now that is behind me and I'm standing on top of it now. I know that something like that comes again, I can handle it, and we build these lives. And and for me, that's all it's about. It's just building and building. It's about building individually. It's about building as a community, and then building as a larger society. It's about building a new system that works for all of us and not just a few.
Nice. Here, wait, I'm going to handle this fan thing real quick. Just give me a second. Mm-hmm. Oh. Cool. Sorry. Yeah. Well, one thing that we haven't talked about is the Rituals film that you just did with Mudwater, which sort of ties into this idea of like what you do compounds and leads to other decisions in your day and in your life. So the idea came about because our brilliant friend Chris Keener, who's the head of Mud Films, has this hilarious David Attenborough voice, who and he would sometimes like narrate like, "Look at the songbird. What a beautiful creature. It takes flight." And he came up with this idea of what if you narrated a person's morning routine like this sort of heroic Nat Geo style shot commercial, and you were the subject of one of these ones. So take people through your morning routine.
Yeah. So my morning routine, first of all, is super important. It's something that I established when I was in prison. And the reason that I established that while I was in prison was because I knew that when those bars cracked, I was going to be up against it. I was going to be out on the yard, and who knew what was going to happen or what kind of evil I was going to face that day. So I wanted to strengthen myself in the morning. I wanted to ground myself, strengthen myself, and allow God into my life, allow that power, that strength, to just that spiritual power to come into my life so that I can make it being the best me throughout the day. And so I had taken some yoga classes and gone to church and read some spiritual books in the Bible and just kind of grounded myself, right? I was trying to figure out how to not be the same Chris B that got me where I was at, right? So I was searching, and I just came to a place where, and I don't remember exactly when or how, I remember I was at Soledad State Prison, and I would wake up in the morning, wash my face, get down on my knees, pray, lay on my bunk, read my Bible, meditate for about 10 or 20 minutes, clean my cell, wipe down in my cell, and eat a bowl of oatmeal. Yeah, and then by that time it'd be time for the doors to pop, boom, and I'd go to the yard. But I was ready at that point, and so I just kind of carry that on. It's just something that like I know works for me. It grounds me in my day. So same thing out here, 4:30 in the morning, wake up. There are days when I hit that snooze button, not every day is perfect, but it's basically the same thing. Wake up, either, I've been doing more mud water now. It was coffee. Now it's more mud water.
We got
prayer.
you on the program.
Mud water's been good to me. Coffee hasn't. Yeah. But wake up, pray, teeth brush, face wash. Now it's exercise. That was another thing I would do, exercise myself. Some push-ups, some burpees, something like that. Exercise, mud water. One thing that I have a dog now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
What's
I
his
got
name?
a little puppy, Cece.
Cece.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
What kind?
Lab.
Nice.
Yeah, rescue. Yeah, that's my partner. That's my buddy.
So when you went to prison, did you have a morning routine right when you went in?
You mean before I went in? Yeah, wake up, get high, get the day cracking. Right when I went in? No. You kind of gotta when you in prison or when you go to prison, there's a bunch of different stages, right? So you kind of got to get to a place where you can be like, all right, all this movement is over with. Because, first thing, like, you get arrested, you go to jail. You're in jail and you're not in prison. And then you're facing uncertainty, right? You got to go to court and all this different stuff. And you're in a place that's pretty transient. People are coming and going all the time. They're either going to prison or they're going home or they just came in and so.
So where is this when you're first
This
convicted?
is like in the jail, in the county jail, before you're convicted. Because you're not, if you're black, and most of the time if you're white too, you're not innocent until proven guilty. Like you're guilty when the police contact you. So they put you in jail, in the county jail, and then you have to go through these court proceedings, right? Like they're trying to get you to take some time. So that place is very transient because there's people coming in just fresh off the streets, or maybe people that have been there longer that are going home or going to prison or whatever. But it's just not a place to, and it's very volatile, and so it's just not a place to really develop a long-term routine because you're not going to be there long either, for the most part. So, and then when you go to prison, you go through what's called reception. They put you in this place and you stay there for like 30, 40 days, maybe up to 6 months while they're going through your paperwork and classifying you and doing all that kind of stuff. And then they send you and determining basically where they're going to send you. Right. And then once you finally get to where they're going to send you, there might be another short period of reception. And then you finally get somewhere where you're going to be for a while. Right. So, and that's where I started developing my ritual or my routine.
Okay.
And other than that, it's like, what's next? What's going to happen today?
Right. So once you finally got convicted, and what prison did they send you to first?
Jeez, it depends on what time.
Yeah.
I've been to prisons all up and down California, probably 10 different prisons in the state of California. I think California has more prisons than any other state. And so, I was at Chino, Soledad, CRC, Donovan, Chuckawalla, Sierra Conservation Center, all the, that's what they do.
There's one called Sierra Conservation Center.
SCC.
That sounds like an environmental nonprofit.
Doesn't it though? Well, so
that sounds nice.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's not nice. It's not nice. It's actually one of the more volatile places that I have been. But that place is the precursor to going to fire camp. So people that are going to fire camp that are going to end up fighting fires for the state of California, they go through Sierra Conservation Center. That's where they do the firefighter training and all that kind of stuff.
And did you do that training?
I did.
Right. That's a big program, right? A lot of people in prison get out and end up fighting fires in some capacity.
I think they
while
started
they're
now.
in, right?
While they're in.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was. So I did go to fire camp. I was a physical fitness trainer up there. So I was training guys in physical fitness for getting them ready to go to fire camp. And then I did go to fire camp for a few years. And it is a big program. There's like 39 fire camps throughout California, and there's actually 2 different places you go. So one is Sierra Conservation Center, and the other one is California Conservation Center, which is up in like Lake County or something. And from Sierra Conservation Center, which is in Jamestown, kind of near Modesto, west of Yosemite, you go to the southern fire camps. And then from the other one, California Conservation Center, you go to the camps up in Northern California.
Do you have any stories of fighting fires?
Yeah.
Tell me about them.
You don't want to hear all that
No,
stuff.
I do.
Kyle, you love prison, don't you? You might as well just go catch you a case, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go do it. I'm fascinated.
No, don't do it.
I won't.
Yeah, I mean, I was in fire camp for 4 years, maybe. So yeah, I fought plenty of fires. Trying to think of a good story I could tell you. I mean, being on fire crew's funny. Like, there's characters, and there's a lot of freedom. In fire camp, there's no gates around it or anything like that. The last fire camp I was at was it's called Julius Klein, Francisquito, and it was Santa Clarita, so it was right up here by Magic Mountain, just east of Magic Mountain, and that shit was like the Navy SEALs of fire camps. And I got sent there from another fire camp where I had got this cushy job working in the kitchen. I was done fighting fires. I was like, I don't want to fight no more fires. That shit's hard work. Like, up on a mountain, 24 hours, you go up for 24. So a lot of times, like, they'll come get you in a helicopter, come get your whole crew in a helicopter, and fly you up on a fucking mountain in the middle of California. It looks like nobody's ever set foot on top of that mountain. Like, this is a big-ass state. When you drive up and down this state all summer long fighting fires, you realize that this motherfucker's big. And there are places where it looks like nobody's ever been before in their lives. I remember being on top of mountains like, man, I wish my son was here with me and could see this, just amazing views. But you stay up there for 24 hours, like tool in the dirt, fighting the fire.
Right, just cutting line.
Cutting line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you're either Pulaski, McLeod, a saw, whatever, and you're just cutting just miles of line. It's rough work. So I had got this cushy job working in the kitchen at a fire camp, and somebody in there's always saying something stupid, and so they said, whatever somebody said, it got back to the sergeant that I was causing a racial problem with the Hispanics. Like, it was going to be a riot. Like, it was going to be the blacks against Hispanics, and I was the one leading it. But I was the one that was chill. Like, I'm the one that, like, hey, I get along with everybody, So I was, but I know what had happened. I got into it with this dude, and he was like the house mouse. He was like, always up to sergeant's ass or whatever. And I called him out one time because he did some dumb shit. And next thing you know, they came and got me out of line. Buroughs, go pack your shit. I'm like, what? What you mean pack my shit? They're like, yeah, go pack your shit. You're going to Francisquito. This is the most hikingest camp in all of California, So it's like a punishment. Like, okay, we're going to take you out of this cushy, kitchen job and throw you on a fire crew at this camp that's like the Navy SEAL camp. And so I'm like, all right, whatever. So there's nothing I can do about it. So I get my shit, roll up, go over to this camp. And it's funny, this camp, because everybody knows about it. You hike every day, first thing in the morning, and it's in a valley in the middle of a bunch of mountains, and there's about 2,000 hikes from there. And what they do is the fire captains will walk you to the in the morning time. You eat breakfast, you go out, get in line. There's like 80 guys there, do calisthenics, and then they walk you to a hike, and they'll name off the hike, and all the hikes are named like Mount Motherfucker, or Crazy Ack, or to the top and beyond with a loop, and then they could put different hikes together, like go to Joe's Tree and then a loop to Crazy Ack and whoop, and they time you. And if you don't make the time on 3 hikes, you're out of there. They send you back to prison. I seen people crying. Not even there yet, coming from Jamestown, knowing that because at Jamestown, after you do your firefighter training, you sit and you wait for a couple weeks, and then they'll give you a ducat. All right, hey, roll your stuff up. You're going to camp, and you're happy because you're getting out of prison and you're going to camp, right? I seen motherfuckers go over there to R&R with their stuff, and they're like, "What camp am I going to? What camp?" And they're like, Francisquito, crying, tears. Man, fuck that, man. Why did you send me to Francisquito, man? I can't do that shit. They hike you down there. I've seen that. Gangsters, gang members crying. I ain't lying to you. So they sent me to this camp. I can hike though, so I wasn't too worried about it. And when I was at the other camp, I used to tell one of the fire captains there, "Hey, let me go hiking with you guys sometimes," when I was in the kitchen. So he'd take me out hiking with his crew. And there was one of the cats from his crew was there. He had seen me hike before. So they all try to scare you when you get there. You gonna be able to do the hikes? If not, you're gonna go back to prison or whatever. And dude was there. He was like, "I seen him hike. You're gonna be good. Don't trip." I'm like, "All right, whatever." I said, because I look at it like, if you can do it, I can do it. But so they did that. They sent me there, and then I had to do the hikes. And you had to make 4 hikes at that camp before they even put you on a crew. Most camps, like you go to the camp, you're on a crew immediately. That one, you have to do 4 hikes and cut wood. They got a pile of wood about 20 feet high, about 100 feet around, that LA Forestry just comes and drops there every day, that you just bust wood all day long until you make 4 hikes, and then they put you on a crew. So I went there, boom, I did the hikes. I did fine on the hikes. They put me on the crew. Okay, I'm working on the crew or whatever. But there was this dude, and it was they told us, so when the captains go out to the hike, after you finish the calisthenics, you go down to this riverbed, and then they name off the hike. And the captains are there, like, you got 6 pounds of boots on, and you don't have Nomex on, but you got on heavy jeans and all that stuff, and you have to have water to take your hike. Captains are there in like marathon running shorts and Solomon shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're ready. So they call out the hike. They'll say like, all right, Mount Motherfucker, 47 minutes, go. And then you got to go. You just got to take off running, and then it's straight up. Like, these hikes are no joke. Even you, and you're in good shape, you're going to have trouble. You're going to be cussing.
Hiking intense, man. And I've done a bit of hunting, and it's not transferable necessarily from like CrossFit workouts or just like weightlifting or anything like that. It's a very specific kind of exhaustion where you're just walking with something heavy uphill.
And when it's
hot.
a timed hike and it's a race and you're trying to get there by a certain time, so most of these hikes you have to run 2 miles on flat whoop-de-doos, and then you hit the hill, boom, and then it's straight up from there, and you just got to push, and your legs are on fire. And so we did that one time. He said, "To the top." I remember it was one of the hikes is called To the Top. It's called To the Top, and so boom, we hike up there, and it's like, once you get on top of the mountain, it's misty, right? And so when I'm coming back down, this OG that had just got there, this is his first hike, right? He had just got there, and he was walking up, and he had a white bandana. He was waving. He was waving the white bandana. He was like, man, and he got like two of the homies around him. They like, come on, man, you got this. You could do it. He's waving the white bandana. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Put up the surrender flag.
Yeah. And then when he came back down, I was like, what's up, man? You did it? Did you make it in time? He was like, no, I didn't make it in time, man. But I made it all the way to the top. He said, shit. When I got up there, I seen the clouds. I seen the three captains up there. He said, I thought it was Moses, Elijah, and Jesus. Oh, shit. Man, it was just like, you just had, it was, fire camp is fun. You can get in trouble pretty easy there. I got kicked out of a couple fire camps for like, they put me in a fire camp in San Diego. Bad thing to do. I lasted about a month. They kicked me out, told me I couldn't be in San Diego County anymore.
Do you feel like you've always had a sense of vision?
What does that do? Let's break vision down. What does that mean?
What does it mean to you?
Vision. I mean, the most basic definition is like, can I see something, right? Vision is like something that I can see. No, in that sense, I don't think so. I think I had more a feeling, but I couldn't see it, and that was that lack of confidence earlier, that insecurity that we talked about earlier. I think I always envisioned something, but I didn't have a clear vision of what that something was. I always had a sense that I was good, that there was something like about me that I could overcome, and that I could, I tell when I talk in meetings a lot, I talk about how I always was like self-conscious. But when I got on a baseball field, a football field, a basketball court, a soccer pitch, I knew like, this is my house. I got you, And I think I had that inner confidence, but I didn't have the clarity. There was something inside that was jumbled to where I just couldn't see it or figure it out. But it was there at that small space that I talked about. I knew it. I knew that I could be something great for my community or for others, or, and there's a lot of times in my life, and it was just ego, and I just felt I could be great, I just couldn't figure out how to do it, and a lot of that was probably the haze from like all the alcohol and the drugs and, women and whatever else it was that I was distracting myself with. Vision. No, I don't think I always had a vision. I think I always envisioned something great. But it was deep inside. It wasn't attainable. I couldn't grasp it.
And what role did gardening and having the idea of gardening play in clarifying that vision?
Well, shit. It was the last block on the house. I mean, the last house on the block. It was. It made sense right off the bat. When, I'm sure I told you before, I prayed, and the same day when I was sitting in the hole, I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Whatever I do with the rest of my life can't be just for profit. It's got to bring some value to my community. And organic farming came to me immediately.
When you were in the hole, just that idea came to you?
When I was in the same day I prayed.
Wow.
I'm in the hole. I pray. 3:00 that afternoon, I'm laying on my rack thinking about what can I do to not do this shit anymore, because this ain't working, right? This is not working at all, and I can't do this anymore. And it came to me, so I received that vision. It didn't come from me. It came to me, and then I just, there was nothing else. I was too old for a football career. I was too old for a baseball or basketball career. I didn't know how to do shit. It's not like I was already a journeyman carpenter or anything like that. I needed to learn to do something. And I remember consciously thinking, like, I like working outside. I love the world and nature. Like, I would love to help the world and nature. I'd love to be able to feed my community. I can bring some goodness to my community. I live in Southern California. We have good weather. I don't know anything about farming, but I know that good weather is conducive to growing food. So it made sense. And then I just trusted. And that was part of my prayer. Part of my prayer was like, God, I don't know how to trust you. I've never trusted you before with my life. Don't have any way of, I've never done this before, but I want to trust you. So please teach me to trust you. So when I received that vision, I just walked with it full. It was like the only thing, and still to this day, it's like, I won't do anything else. People say like, oh, well, are you going to quit the organization or what? I'm like, there's no quitting. Like, this is it. For me, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to build this organization to the end.
And for people who maybe don't know, who want to support, you definitely you're looking for more support within this organization, more people to get involved and help organize, help it scale, right?
Indeed.
And that's what you're talking about with discipline, trying not to do everything, but relying on other people.
Yeah, I've been working on delegating. I've been better at delegating. I have an amazing team. It's so funny because I feel like a lot of times they're looking at me to lead, but I'm just learning from them, right? Like, yeah, and we're definitely looking for more support for the organization. We've gotten a lot of support from the Newman Foundation, from Mudwater, from Ron Finley Project, from we just got this Beginning Farmers and Ranchers Development Program that we're pairing up with Cal State San Marcos and Miracosta Community College. I mean, we have a lot of support. But yes, this is a movement. Like, this is a movement. This is about changing the world and building a new system. See, one of the things that I realized is, like, when I was getting in trouble, I was rebelling against the system. It was like I was throwing grains of sand at a tank, trying to break the system down because I thought it was inequitable and unfair and unjust. And I think I had the right idea, but I was definitely going about it. I was just being self-destructive. I was definitely going about it the wrong way. And so what I realized is that if the system doesn't work, you just build a new system. Don't try to break the one down that's already, like, put all together and in place, and it's got a place for people that throw grains of sand at it, but just build a new system. And so that's what this is. We're building a new system. This is a movement. We're changing the world, with organizations like Mudwater and other organizations that are just and that care about doing the right things.
I listened to a podcast with a comedian, Jerry Seinfeld, and he said being born with creativity, and I would put kind of vision in that bucket. He said it's like being given a horse, and if you don't learn how to ride that horse, it'll fucking kill you. and he's very disciplined. He meditates. He has a morning ritual. He's very much concerned with discipline and habits, so that he can ride that creativity and that horse. And that's something that I see you doing and learning how to do and navigating, is figuring out how you can best use your efforts to make sure that horse goes as fast as possible.
Yeah, and you know, as far as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm just learning. I never knew how to be responsible. I never knew how to be a good friend. I never knew how to be a good son. That shit is all new to me. So everything that I'm doing today, every day, everything that I'm doing is brand new. You know, these are not things that I've been doing for a long time. And so I'm definitely in the process of learning. And discipline is new to me. I've always been able to just, like, things either came easy for me or I just didn't do them, you know? And so I never really had to employ discipline. And so I'm learning. And one of the things that I've realized is that I'm called to do greater things. But I can't do those greater things the way I am today. I need to learn discipline so that I can be able to ride that horse and direct that horse. You know what I'm saying? Like, trying to do it how I was yesterday or last month or a year, the things that are coming into my life, I'm not prepared for that. So I need to get myself prepared for that by being disciplined. Yeah, I think Jerry Seinfeld is exactly right, you know.
When you were learning how to garden, what was a helpful habit that you developed in learning that skill?
Well, first of all, I'm still learning how to garden. You know, that's a lifelong thing, and I just at the tip of it. You know, we can learn how to grow things and how to interact with soil and plants our entire lives and still know very little. So now that said, what was the question again?
When you were learning, what was a good habit that you developed to help you along that path?
Practice. Get out there every day. You know, I guess it was just like anything else.
And where was there every day?
The garden.
The garden. So
yeah.
was it at your house?
At my house.
Okay, so when you got out of prison and you had that idea, did you just start a garden immediately? What was that process like?
No, I went to school for sustainable agriculture at Miracosta, so I had means to a garden, but when I got out, I had nowhere else to go, so I was living at my mom's house, and my mom was not a fan of gardens because they bring quote-unquote rats. Right? So I remember she took off to Philadelphia for a week or two, go see some family, and while she was gone, I built her these two big garden. I probably built them just as much for myself as I did for her, but these two beautiful garden beds. I stained them and put lattice on them and everything. And she came back and saw them, was like, I don't want those because rats will come. And I was like pissed. So, and that probably was like one of the precursors to me like, okay, I need to get my own place, you know? And so I moved and I got my own place. And when I did that, I made sure to get a place with a large backyard. And then, boom, the first thing I did was rip out all that grass and establish a garden there. And I'm in it every day, you know. Sometimes I'm in my pajamas at, you know, from 5, 6 in the morning, and I turn around, it's 3 in the afternoon, and I'm still in the garden in my pajamas, you know, or with shorts or whatever I wore the night before.
What were the first plants that you planted in that garden?
Probably 2 plumerias that I bought as pups, about 6 inches from Miracosta, from the school I was working at and going to they had like a little plant sale, and I brought these 2 plumerias, and they were just sticks, like 6 inches, and they're about 4 to 5 feet now, branched out, looking like little baby trees. Probably those. And let's see, it was coming into the springtime. I moved in January 1st. I think I probably planted, after I ripped all that stuff out, around February. Probably some tomatoes too. Yeah.
My mom is a big gardener. She's got a green thumb. And when she was a little girl, she grew up in Los Angeles. And her neighbor, older woman, gave her a radish to plant. And you can't kill radishes. They're very hard to kill. They're a very hardy plant. So she planted it, and it was a big success. So she thought, I'm the best damn gardener in the world.
Nice.
But man, having that early success is so important, just so you don't have the belief of like, oh, I've got, I can't do this. It's not my thing.
Yeah. First, your mom was awesome.
Yeah, you met her, right?
Yeah, I did. She gave me some great ideas too for the organization. Please tell her I said hi. And not only that, but that copper COVID mask that she gave me is the only one that I wear, because I don't like wearing them in the first place. But some places you had to until up to recently, and it was the only one I could breathe through.
That's funny, man.
So I still got it after 2 years, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, an early success is a great thing, right? Get a win, get a little confidence underneath your belt. For me, it was school and surrounding myself with mentors. I remember starting school and being like, I'm not telling anybody up here shit about me. I don't want them to know anything about my background, because I had that imposter syndrome. Like, it's been a long time since I've been in school. Even I was taking classes when I was in prison, correspondence classes through Coastline. But, I had never been in an actual, college setting and studying and learning and being with actual students and all that stuff. So I was very unsure of whether I could do it, whether I was supposed to be there, whether I should do it, what the people's reaction would be to me if they knew actually who I was. And then, but coming home from prison, one of the things that I realized was that I was going to need to find some mentors, some men that could, because like I said, I didn't know how to live. So I knew that I was going to need to find some men that could show me, how to be a man, how to live responsibly in today's society. And and I've been blessed with a whole bunch of mentors, a lot of them, amazing men and women also. But I remember being in a horticulture club meeting. I joined the horticulture club. And I remember being in a meeting, and mind you, like, I'm in a horticulture department. I'm the only black in the whole department. I took probably 8 horticulture classes up there, and in every single one, I was the only black in every single one. So I already kind of didn't fit in, And I remember being in a horticulture club meeting, and one of the students saying, yeah, I just got this scholarship for $3,000 or something. And I remember, like, in October seeing a little email about the scholarship, and I never applied for it. And I was like, man, fuck that. That's free money. I was like, man, I need to apply for that. So I applied for it. I applied for a few different scholarships. No. So this is where my mentor came in. I joined Umoja. My counselor said, hey, there's this organization for black students on campus. You should look into it. So I went and I talked to the counselor of it, amazing guy named Don Love, who is still one of my favorite people ever and a mentor of mine. And he's also on the board for Garden 31. I remember talking to him about that scholarship, and I said, hey, Don, I want to apply for these scholarships, but I don't have anything to tell him about me, because I don't want to tell him about my past and where I came from. So I don't really have anything like good to tell him, nothing good to tell him. And I remember he told me, he said, no. He said, Chris, your story is your story. You know, tell him that. I said, are you serious? Like, tell him that I've been in prison and all that kind of stuff? He said, yeah. He said, tell him your story. Tell him who you are. And I did. And it allowed me to open up. It's probably one of the only reasons I'm here with you today, is I've been able to open up and share my story. And it all stemmed from Don empowering me by saying that to me, the way I met Nell.
This is Nell Newman, who's a big funder of sustainable farming. Her dad was Paul Newman, the actor, and she does a lot of very wonderful philanthropy in the organic foods world.
Just an amazing woman all around, and a huge activist for the environment and for justice. The way I met her was my story, basically. I wanted to meet Ron Finley because I'd heard about him so much from reading about him in prison. So I went and met him. I told him my story. Nell happened to be there, and he said, hey, tell her your story. And I told her my story, and then we became friends.
Yeah.
And my story, even though it gets old to me, it really gets old. Like, I'm tired of telling that shit. I want to tell a new story now, Well,
it was a long time ago, right? But the prison chunk of your story is such a powerful part of it.
Yeah.
So there's this, I could see that there being a struggle between like, that was a long time ago, and it's an amazing story of redemption.
Yeah, so it's really opened up a lot of doors for me.
Yeah.
And that only came from me being empowered to share it. And so I guess that would be like my win. You're talking about like that one win, that radish, I guess that would have been my win.
That's cool, man. I think that's very relatable to a lot of people. Something that you're embarrassed about is potentially one of your most powerful assets and something that can connect you to other people, because everyone has a version of that. And if we can be more open, less closed off, we can realize that we're all one. I hate to say it, but that's ultimately what good stories are for, connecting us.
I mean, man, you're okay. You're okay. So what? You don't do the same stuff I do, or I don't do the same stuff he does, or, we're all okay. There's nothing for us to hide from. We gotta learn to accept each other for who we are, and accept the diversity. Man, I feel like the need to live up to a persona, an image. I feel like that's one of the big maladies in our society, is people just denying the uniqueness of themselves, their true essence, and trying to fit into something that they feel can be accepted more. And I know I did that for a long, long time, fuck that shit, like, do you, just be, treat people right. Like, I look in the Bible, I read the Bible, and Jesus says, the Israelites had 613 laws, right? You do this, don't do that, go here, don't go there, turn left, don't turn right, all this different stuff, right? Jesus said, look, there's two things. Love God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and treat others like you treat yourself. That's it. If you've done that, you've done the whole law. Like, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just wake up, treat other people good, and do you, to the fullest. Don't worry about what somebody thinks about you, what they say about you. I've heard people say one of the wisest things that I've heard is like, your opinion of me is none of my business. Like, you can think whatever you think. And it took me a long time to get to that place. And sometimes I still revert, I got 40 pairs of tennis shoes at home. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna, I'm not holier than thou, you know what I mean? But when I'm my best, I'm not worried about that. And that's when I'm my best, you know?
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well, you're an inspiring dude, and I'm very happy that you stumbled into my RV doors a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, right? Or that was during COVID.
During COVID.
During COVID, I was doing a little RV trip down through San Diego, and Nell was like, "You got to meet my friend Chris Burroughs." And you showed up, and you're like, "Motherfucker, your podcast studio is an RV." I was like, "Come on in."
Yeah,
and we had such a good time, man.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. Starflight was more comfortable than this.
Yes, indeed. Starflight's just more comfortable than anything.
Right.
It's a lovely downhill trip from my RV.
But from my heart, Kyle, I really want to say this to you. I was the one that was blessed when Nell put us together. You're an amazing person, and you have, throughout the years, you've helped me have some experiences that I never would have had without you. And I'm so appreciative of you, and I feel so blessed to have you as a friend. I know that you believe in me, and it shows in the way that you put my name out there, and you bring these things in, surf lesson, I'm the one that's blessed, man. And that's real.
I appreciate that. It means a lot to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where can people learn more about your work, and what kind of support specifically do you need? A lot of people listening. How can they support Mr. Chris Burroughs right now?
Yeah. Well, don't just support Chris Burroughs. First of all, support the movement. Support what we're doing. The organization is called Garden 31 Community Initiative. You can find us at garden31.org. My email is chrisb@garden31.com. Please reach out. We could be, somebody to do some administrative tasks. That shit that I hate doing. To make connections. I mean, we're always looking for funding. Staff and personnel, people in marketing. We've had some amazing people that have donated their time, their skills, and their expertise. If you know how to farm, whatever, I'd like, one of the things that that is on my agenda for this next year with this beginning farmer and rancher development program is to we're going to be creating a new farm and training individuals through the grower apprenticeship. Grower is an acronym that stands for Generating Real Opportunities with Earth's Resources, and I would like to do a video series on how to create a farm, especially for people of color. How do we go about creating a farm and getting people trained up into becoming farmers and providing food for their communities? So that's something that I would, a series on that is something that I would like to do. So if you got a camera,
let's do this.
Let's do it.
Chris Burroughs, thank you so much, my friend.
Kyle T, thank you so much, brother.